Hi everyone, welcome back to Falcon's House. This is the first video in the series comparing 16:9 to 21:9. I'm using the Alienware AW3420DW and the Eve Spectrum 4K in the comparison. However, it is not directly comparing the monitors specifically. I'm comparing the resolutions and how ultra-wide feels against normal widescreen. So while I will mention things that I noticed, it isn't going to be the end-all be-all, and part of that is because the Eve Spectrum has a decent amount of backlight bleed compared to the Alienware, but that's going to be very specific to every person's monitor, and I don't want to use that to color my opinion of which one you should be choosing for a type of monitor. Not specifically the Alienware, but just ultra-wide versus widescreen. Anyway, this game, for the first game I'm comparing is Hitman 3, which I've shown on the channel before, and I have finished the game, and I have a good amount of experience with how the game plays, so it didn't take me as long as, say, Far Cry 6 did to create this video set. Which is good because I have so many other games coming out in the next few weeks. As a reminder, the specs of my system are a 3080 and a 3700X, and all settings were set to Ultra. So the way I did my comparison was that I played the game on each monitor for a while, and then I watched the video recordings of my gameplay. So I have both like the raw feeling of how it played, and I'm comparing what I saw in my recordings after the fact. And since like I said, since it's comparing the aspect ratios more than the monitors, I want to focus on that more. But I will mention the Spectrum has more backlight bleed, like I said, and the picture feels a lot more washed out because of it, and I can probably tune this out with settings, maybe lower down the brightness or something to get it to feel. And the other change was that HDR was enabled on the Eve, and it was not on the Alienware because the Alienware doesn't support HDR. So I might do a follow-up video if I can adjust it to better settings, and I might also do a video comparing just resolutions with like direct capture using like OBS Studio or something to get a better feel. But with so many other games coming out, I don't know if I'll have time. But if I do get a bunch of likes and comments on this video to do it, I will do that. And while playing the game, I didn't really notice a difference between the monitors that much, as the gameplay loop really has me focusing on the center of the screen and what Agent 47 is doing and looking for items or whatever. It's not so much you're not paying attention to your periphery, and it's not like you have enemies flying in all the time that you need to be able to see like in a fast-paced first-person shooter or something. So with the slower methodical pacing, I don't think it gains a huge advantage from having the ultra-wide, but there are certain situations where being able to see around the corners is a little bit better. However, when I did look back through my gameplay when I was watching the replays, I did notice that I had a lot more camera movement when I was playing on the Eve in 16:9, just to get a better view of my surroundings. So like I had to do less adjustment to the cameras when I was playing in ultra-wide. The extra resolution of 4K was noticeable, but the gain over 1440p wasn't huge. But when I was like in a still situation, like when I was crouched behind something, I could just kind of notice a little bit more detail coming out of the textures and characters and everything. So it is better, but I don't know if it was a lot better. Also, HDR didn't seem to provide that big of a difference, and SCR still provided a lot of color pop and brightness from the light sources, especially the neon lights. Like it still seems perfectly fine. Like if I didn't know one was HDR and one wasn't, I don't know if I could be able to say, oh, this is definitely HDR and this one definitely isn't HDR. And I think part of that is because the Eve Spectrum is, I believe I have it in single backlight mode out of the factory. I didn't change that. So it's just gonna have like a different contrast level to that because of it. So it can't get quite the contrast differences. I'm gonna try to tune out some of the settings though, so let's see if that changes anything. The other thing to talk about is frame rate. In the ultra-wide, it mostly held 120 FPS, with occasional dips to the low 100s, like 104, 103, somewhere in that range. In the 4K, I was only maxing out at about 108 FPS, and it would dip into the 90s regularly. Like, probably most of the gameplay was like it would be like a little bit at 108, and then it would dip down to 90 whenever something big came on screen or whatever. And for this type of game, it doesn't really matter. The game is really kind of tuned to be played at 60 FPS, and with G-Sync, it doesn't even feel like you're really missing anything. It didn't feel unsmooth or anything like that. But it was a difference, and if you are trying to play at like absolutely top spec like frame rates that your monitor can support, the Alienware is definitely a lot easier to hit that. I could probably tune down the settings. Maybe high settings would be enough for the 4K to hit max frame rate. But I didn't really test that, and I don't think it matters for this game. Like other games, I'm going to be like, yeah, you want as much frame rate as you can get, so we'll tune down settings and I'll have a comparison of that. But this one, I don't think it's necessary. The gameplay isn't for that. Anyway, that's it for the big differences in gameplay. I don't want to do ties, but I will say it was graphically better on the Spectrum, and gameplay was better on the Eve, on the Alienware, excuse me, where there was just like a few scene types where like turning the camera and stuff was a little bit better, and the extra field of view helped. And of course there's the frame rate was higher and better on the Alienware. So I'm gonna say that the Alienware was better for Hitman 3, but I don't think it was really that big of a difference, and if you bought the Eve Spectrum, I don't think you're not missing out on something by not being an ultra-wide, but I do think ultra-wide was better here. Well, that's it for this comparison. I might have some more comparisons this game, but I might just move on to some of the new titles that are coming out. Let me know what you want to see in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.